Can you believe that a Coke can and a plastic cup solved a 30-year-old sexual assault and murder case? Yes, one Coke can did it. And this case is one of the most unique ones in itself. Because in this case, not only was the laughing and playful life of 18-year-old college student Mandy Stack ended, but it also took 30 years for her to get justice. The same Mandy's killer managed to slip away right under the nose of big police agencies. Surprisingly, this crime happened in a part of the world no one would have expected. A really small community where everybody knows each other. Acme, a tiny town in Washington with a population of just 300 to 350, where everyone knew everyone else and safety was so high that people didn't even lock their house doors. But on November 24, 1989, everything was about to change. 18-year-old Mandy used to always go jogging with her mother, but that day she went alone with her German Shepherd dog Kyra to jog till the Nooksack River. She had no idea this was going to be her last jog. A few hours later, only her dog Kyra returned home. The dog had returned even though there were just 10 to 12 houses on that route. Still, some people saw her returning with Kyra. Even her brother Lee, who was at that time at the Anderson house which was halfway, saw her. 24 hours had passed since Mandy went missing. The entire Acme town got together to search for her, but no clue was found. Second day since 18-year-old Amanda Stack suddenly disappeared yesterday afternoon. 3 days later, Mandy's dead body was found in the Nooksack River, 6 miles away from home. Her body had no clothes on it. Everyone in the community was in shock. Now only Mandy's autopsy report could reveal what had happened. Next day the report came. Cause of death, asphyxia by drowning. Meaning the cause of death was drowning. But there were no signs of struggle where Mandy's body was found. Plus, the water wasn't even that deep at that point. And Mandy was a good swimmer too. So it was clear that Mandy didn't die by drowning. But the medical examination report was saying something else. Head injury and sexual assault. It seemed someone had hit Mandy hard on the head and then violated her. The whole town was shocked by this incident. In that shock, there was only one question in everyone's mind. Who did this to Mandy? Was the killer one of them, or did he come from outside? And was he still out there looking for his next victim? The killer was still roaming free somewhere. Please watch this case till the end because it not only has lots of twists and turns like a movie, but there's also a lesson at the end that we should probably remember for our entire lives. By 1986, DNA testing had already started in the USA for crime cases, so getting the killer's DNA in this case was very important. Fortunately, police found an unidentified male DNA from Mandy's body. They got a sketch made based on that. This could have been a big breakthrough. Police sped up their investigation, followed every lead, recorded statements of all witnesses, and finally one name came up: David Suke. David Suke, a drifter, was seen in the same area on the same day. A drifter means a wandering man whose image in society isn't very good. But his DNA did not match the unidentified male DNA found at the crime scene, so police had to rule David Suke out. All the hard work of the police went down the drain. 20 years passed. 2 detectives changed. The crime remained unsolved. But the police still didn't stop. In 2009, the case was transferred to Detective Kevin Bohe. He started collecting DNA samples of all male persons who were living in Acme in 1989. 4 years passed but not a single sample matched. The police department was frustrated. Mandy's family members were tired of waiting for justice, and the hopes of the Acme town were dying. Then a miracle happened. 2 ladies, Heather and Marilee, bumped into each other at a water park. Both had studied in the same college with Mandy. While talking, Mandy's name came up, and at the same time, both of them took the name of the same person whom they had always suspected to be Mandy's killer. And his name was Tim Bass, who studied in the same college. But why did they take Tim Bass's name? Was Tim actually the killer? And if both of them had suspected Tim from the beginning, then why did they stay silent for so many years? To find the answers to all this, let's go back to Mandy's college days. During college days, Heather and Marilee had quite disturbing experiences with Tim. On a school trip, Tim had attempted to physically molest Heather. And late at night he went to Marilee's house and forced her to have physical relations with him. Imagine, a college student who studies with you tries to harass and molest his own college mates like this. He repeatedly pressures them to have a physical relationship with him. The kind of mental trauma they must have gone through. And the fear they had in their hearts was so much that they kept all this hidden from everyone. But after so many years, Heather and Marilee had finally realized that to get justice for Mandy, it was very important for them to speak up. So they finally gathered courage and contacted the police. Both told the police why they suspected Tim Bass and also shared the disturbing experiences they had with him. This was a major lead that police got after 25 years. Tim's house was right near Mandy's house. In fact, both families had quite good relations and Tim's younger brother Tom was Mandy's friend. But the surprising thing was, if Tim was the real culprit, then why didn't his DNA match that unknown male DNA, even though police had collected samples of all males in that area? The reason was carelessness in the investigation at that time. The investigation revealed that the police had never taken samples from Tim or his family members because Tim's family and Mandy's family were quite close, so no one suspected them. And this was the biggest mistake by the police department. Whether Tim was the culprit or not could only be known from his DNA. So without any further delay, the police went to Tim's house to meet him. For 25 years, Tim had been living a peaceful life with his wife and 3 children, 30 kilometers away from Acme in Everson. He was also working as a delivery truck driver at a bakery shop there. The police met Tim, explained the whole case to him and asked for his saliva sample. But Tim clearly refused to give his sample. From here, the police's suspicion on Tim became even deeper, and they decided to check Tim's background. First, the police met Tim's brother Tom Bass. Tom told the police that Tim had always been antisocial, and the breakup he had in college made him even more aggressive. After that breakup, Tim had developed a strange kind of hatred towards all women, as if he hated girls and women deep inside. 6 weeks after Mandy's death, Tim married Gina Malone from his own college. Just think for a second what kind of life the girl who married such a guy must have had. When the police met Tim's wife Gina, the revelations she made were also quite horrifying. Tim was a controlling and emotionally abusive partner who treated his wife like a servant. Gina wanted to leave Tim but couldn't because Tim had threatened her that if she did so, he would lie in court and get custody of all 3 children. She had been enduring all this for 30 years. For Gina, marriage felt like prison. After so many revelations, Tim became a prime suspect in the eyes of the police. But to prove him guilty, they still needed strong evidence. The police needed his DNA sample at any cost. So the police made a team and stayed on his tail the whole night in the hope that maybe Tim would throw away some item or object that would have his saliva on it. But here too the police only faced failure. Either it was coincidence or Tim was smarter than needed. But they say when all doors are closing, somewhere a door opens. And that new door was Tim's boss, Kim Wagner. The police met Kim and told her the whole story. Kim also didn't have a good experience with Tim. She had noticed his disrespectful behavior towards women. So without any hesitation she agreed to help the police. Now Kim had to get Tim's DNA sample somehow. So she started keeping an eye on Tim all the time, hoping that one day she would get something that had Tim's DNA on it. Months passed and finally that day came. Tim used this Coke can and this plastic cup and threw them in the dustbin. This was the only chance Kim had. She quietly retrieved that Coke can and plastic cup without Tim noticing and handed them over to the police. Sometime later the test results came. The unknown DNA found at the crime scene was Tim Bass's. On December 17, 2009, the police arrested Tim on charges of Mandy's kidnapping, sexual assault and murder. This case was quite personal for everyone. One example of this was prosecutor Dave N., who not only came forward to fight the case for Mandy even after retirement, but also didn't take any fee for it. But the case was still not closed. Because during the trial, Tim gave a statement about Mandy that left everyone shocked. Tim said that he and Mandy were having a secret affair and that day they had physical relations, which is why the police found Tim's DNA in Mandy's body. This was a very strange kind of statement. The prosecution said that Mandy and Tim had no connection at all. There was no conversation between them, nor were they in the same class. In fact, Tim was 4 years senior to Mandy. No one had ever seen Mandy and Tim together anywhere. Tim's statement crossed all limits of cheapness. Tim's claims were not going to last long because to bring out his truth, his own family members came forward. Tim's wife Gina told the court that she had heard Tim telling his mother to put all the blame on his father, because Tim's father had passed away 10 years ago. But Tim's mother clearly refused to do so. What a cheap level this man had reached. He asked his own mother to blame his dead father in a case of a girl's sexual assault. Tim's brother Tom also gave testimony and told how Tim had pressured him to testify in court that Mandy's character was not good because she had physical relations with him, Tom, so that the sexual assault angle could be dismissed. Tim had fallen to every low possible in his defense. But after 30 years of waiting, 2 weeks of trial and 5 hours of deliberations, the verdict finally came. Tim was sentenced to 27 years in prison on charges of Mandy's kidnapping, sexual assault and murder. If you liked this story, then don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. See you in the next case.